Welcome to Stompbox. I'm Richard. I'm here with Jeff at the Laney headquarters in the UK, and we've got the brand new Studio Live Nexus bass amplifier to check out today. We're running through one of the brand new Nexus cabs as well. This is the N210, which clearly is a 2x10. There's also a 1x15 and a 4x10 in the range. Neodymium, really lightweight, sound fantastic. The Nexus is loaded with features, the Studio Live, absolutely loaded with them. I want to go through a few of them with you today, but fundamentally what this is just a great sounding amp. Really innovative in the power stage as well. It's going to give you a great sound, but I don't want to steal your thunder, Jeff, so if you want to talk us through the amp.
Yeah, it's a brand new range. It's 2x500 watt power output stage, so you've got a kilowatt there to play with. A lot of headroom. You've got a valve stage preamp to add that warmth and the valve characteristics which I personally strive for. Great EQ facilities, a number of other fairly special effects really, or functions should I say. Should we go through the rig and have a little talk you guys through it perhaps? Pretty standard at the front end. We've got a gain control with a compressor. Feeding through a number of preset shapes, typically the smiley face kind of presets, plus a mid-hump boost as well if you're going for a more aggressive solo style.
So just an easy starting point.
Easy starting point, effectively, yeah. I think we'd set this up with everything flat, get a pre-shape which is closer to your sound or closest, and then EQ from there on in. Feeding through into semi-parametric mid and bass and treble controls, so you can dial in to your mid-range, that critical area of cleaning your sound, keeping your sound fresh and tight for the rest of the band members. It's a nice section. Running through power output stage, volume with a pull mute, which mutes the tuner function as well. There are numerous outputs on the back we'll chat about perhaps later. One being a tuner, and the tuner function is muted, so your stage tuning is taken care of. On the way through, a number of effects as well, which have been added in, which is very helpful in avoiding you carrying extra gear to the gig, all important. We've got a very nice reverb and a chorus function here. An octave divider with an added fifth as well, so you can go an octave down and a fifth. And a focus control, which effectively is like a high-pass filter on the octave. So you can dial a sweeter sound, lose some of that rumble, which octave dividers can tend to jumble you up a bit. Works well. Finally, you're going through two, which I think must be unique, well to my mind anyway, to Laney and headstock, the tilt and touch. Tilt is about adjusting your sound in a global sense to the environment you're in. Some gigs your bass can sound boomy, some gigs it can sound dry, some gigs, it all depends if you're on a hollow stage. Number of factors that affect your sound more so than a guitarist, I feel. Tilt is about EQing your sound around a pivot point. So it's not one frequency that's affected, it's skewing your sound to some degree.
It's taking the whole frequency spectrum.
The whole spectrum.
And as you say, the tilting all the bass up and the treble down, or vice versa.
Vice versa.
So you can EQ for a room in one control.
Effectively in one control. You haven't got to start thinking a little less bass, a little more. It's a one control feature. Other thing I've used personally for is I sometimes use upright, and it's very handy to have a quick reference or a new reference point for a different instrument. Mm-hmm. Upright's fundamentally different in its output, and I can use that tilt to find a quick sound without having to go through and breaking my presets for other instruments. Sure. Final one is touch. Quite a subtle control. It's more for the player than the out front guys really. It's at that level. It affects the way the tube is driven, and in particular it affects the way the output stage feeds back to the tube section. There's a very clever bit of technology I feel going on, which is warming up this Class D amp. Class D are great, but they do run out of headroom, and when they do, they're classically digital. You're going to get this digital breakup. Mm-hmm. This guy sounds sweet. In fact, the more I've driven it, the sweeter it kind of gets. Yeah. Which in my experience of other Class D 500 watt amps, I haven't had that feeling. I felt as I crept towards the top rail, it was becoming choked, maybe just lacking in that thing that a valve amp gives you, that extra kind of bit back. And I feel that there's something very clever and good about that output stage, which is not that I've seen in other Class Ds.
Well, certainly Class Ds don't seem to have the heft of
Exactly.
the traditional
That's
amplifiers.
a good word.
But this, on top of that innovative tube thing going on at the output stage, it's also got 1,000 watts. It's 2 times 500 watts, but it's really important to say that it's a slave 500, so it's not stereo. This isn't to have some complex rig. You've got a full 1,000 watts of mono power. So it's there to give you that headroom. So you're not going to run out of steam in the same way you have with some Class D amps.
Exactly, and it's surprising how quick. I mean, I've got SWR rigs I run regularly. I find the transistor ones, I still go back to them versus the Class D SWR for that very reason. If I get towards the top end, it's the last place you want the rig to be starting to give in on you. You almost want it to go with you. This guy I've driven very hard with some classic rock bands where I've really driven it hard, and it's just been there for me. Never noticed it being in any way lacking.
Sure. Before we hear it, there's a few other things just to mention. There's a very, again, innovative two-way USB output for recording and reamping. It also comes with a highly functional foot switch to access all of the features on it. But what we're most concerned with here is just simply the sound. It's all well and good having features, but if the fundamental sound is no good,
absolutely,
then who cares, frankly? So let's hear a bit of it.
I've got an EQ I've set up quickly for a kind of a slap sound. Drum track on a little trainer, bass trainer, linked in to the back of the amp. Useful facility as a mini jack input. So for your iPad and the like, or iPod. Let's hear it.
Excellent. Do you want to give us some fingerstyle maybe?
Yep. Okay. So that was a kind of a typical slap sound, scoop mids, very clean, very bright, but punchy too. Let's have a look at one of the unique features that I understand, the tilt. I'm going to show you a bit of an extreme version. I feel it's a subtle control to adjust for the room acoustics and different instrument balances. But if I were to show you the kind of the breadth of the effect, here's a regular, say, a walking bass line. If I now take this control anti-clockwise, this is effectively boosting the bottom end while cutting the top. That's an extreme example, but you can hear the effect. If we go back clockwise, this will be boosting the top end while rolling the bottom end at the same time. A lot brighter, a lot cleaner. Back to the middle again. And then we'll roll to the bass side of it. In one control. It's very useful.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Next up, and we've got some of the fancy features here. I don't know if you want to go through them or you want to go through some EQ. Up to you, really.
Yeah, let's have a look at while we've got a sound up, let's have a look at the effects. Space control to the left is a bass oriented reverb effect. If we show you, you'll hear it. In extreme, it becomes quite long. You'll hear it. Turn clockwise, we've got a chorus. Kind of a high band chorus, useful for not getting the bottom end too cluttered up. Controlled by foot switch too. So if you wish to switch it in and out of your sound, that's taken care of. Interval is an octave divider with the added benefit of a fifth as well. So let's dial up an octave.
And that's a fifth above.
A fifth above, and the octave as well. So you get like very much a thickening effect.
The octave being below, though. Yeah.
Octave below, fifth above. Yeah. The focus is the area in which the octave and the fifth is applied to. Effectively, it's like a high band effect. So you may want to add the octave and the fifth to the upper harmonics rather than the fundamental. Let's do a line. Let's put the octave on. Tracks spot on. There's no tracking delay that I can hear. You normally get a slight latency. I don't get anything. Yeah. The fifth. A lot richer. And your focus is kind of quite subtle. More top end oriented.
So quite unusual that fifth.
It is.
Effect on
It is, and it's something I would
quite
never
nice.
have thought of using.
Yeah.
Actually, you stick a octave on for a kind of sub, but it's adding it's adding a flavour, isn't it?
Yeah.
A harmonic flavour to the tone. That's adding it onto the signal at the bottom end. So there's less of the harmonics as opposed to. Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, there's so much on this, and we could go on
There
all
is.
day, really. But I can hear straight away it's a cracking sounding amp. It's going to do really, really well, I think. Pretty different from everything else out there.
Sure.
So if you're into effects, great. If you're not into effects, it just sounds great anyway. So leave them off and crank up the amp because it can take it. So really, really good. Really appreciate your time today. Thanks very much
Great
for
stuff. Thank you.
having us. And
Cheers, man.
if there's any more information you need, then fxpedal.co.uk. Please rate, comment and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Thanks very much.